Hello and welcome to Playing Favorites. I'm Justin.
I'm Paul.
What's going on, Paul? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well.
How's the cat?
I'm doing well. The cat's well. My real life cat's well too. I thought you meant Jerry for a minute. And thank you.
No, the Playing
Nobody
Favorites.
asks about our cat.
The Playing Favorite mascot. You know, the one that's
Yes.
behind you in our
pizza space cat.
Yes. For our listeners that haven't done it yet, we are now on video. Go check it out on our Patreon page. But yes, I'm excited about this episode. It's our first sequel episode of a sequel episode. Right?
Yeah. This will never get old. The first sequel to the sequels episode. But the first one was all about movies. This one's all about
video games. That's right. It's the video game version of sequels. So it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. But in case you didn't know who we are, this is Playing Favorites. And what we do here is we pretty much find a topic, we go out and do a little research, and we just come back and talk about our favorites. That's kind of the gist of it, right?
That's right. One of the things that makes me love doing this podcast is that, like, usually about halfway through our episodes, I realized I liked something a lot more than I did, or maybe I liked something a little less than I did.
Yep.
So that's what's good about kind of like talking these things through. Yep. It's always been interesting.
Sometimes we didn't even know one thing existed, and we end up finding that's what we liked actually more. Like Centaurs.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't know how much we really loved Centaurs.
But go ahead. You can go. You
I
can
was
keep
just
going.
Gonna say you could check out our stuff on all of our posts and our questions and things we ask our listeners and followers on Twitter. You can also check us out on our Patreon page.
That's right. That's right. We have many bonus content. We're actually going to be having our most recent June episode come up in July because they're really fun. But it's a fun episode. We're actually talking about an anime. Your Lie in April was Paul's first time watching it. So if you want to hear about that, go support us on Patreon and get access to a bunch of other bonus episodes we've done. Just like our patrons over there at 8-Bit Sean and Mac40K Painting.
Thanks, guys. I didn't grumble too much on this bonus episode. I think you were surprised.
I think you were surprised. I'm happy. I was happy.
You were surprised. You thought I was going to be just...
I was very nervous.
I was going to tear a new a-hole.
Yeah, I think I was very nervous. But I'm glad. It was a very good conversation. I'm happy we did it. We were going to do more things like that, I think, as we do these bonus episodes. But Today, though, we are not doing a bonus episode. We are talking about our favorite video game sequels. But before we get into our honorable mentions and favorites, Paul has a surprise topic for me, and hopefully I can answer it.
Yes. Okay. So my topic for you, we're talking about our favorite sequels to video games. What is a game that you wish had a sequel that has not gotten a sequel?
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Or maybe it's gotten one sequel and it deserves another. Yeah.
It needs another one.
Or, I mean, I'm going to throw this in the mix too. Had a really strong start, had a bad sequel, and then the series died, which deserves a rebooted sequel or maybe something to pick up where the good one left off. But like one that hasn't been made yet, basically.
Okay. I mean, the one thing that just popped in my head, and I think you'll agree with me. I really wish we could just get another Jet Gun Radio. And I know they made a sequel for that, but like I feel like it was like no one talked about it. Like
it was for the Xbox, and like I don't know, like none of us like really actually. I don't know. Did you play it? Like I played it way later.
I couldn't play it. I couldn't even get to it. I didn't have the access to it. But
yeah.
But no, that's one that jumps at me. I mean, I feel like there's another one. I have to think about it. But like, there's that one. What did you have one?
I got a couple. I was thinking actually about a. Well, I was hoping to see like a remake of Grandia 2 and then like a direct sequel to it, like a Grandia 3 that was more.
Well, they had a Grandia 3.
Characters.
Oh, with those characters, like a Grandia 2.
I wanted that again.
So like,
I wanted Grandia 2 to continue. Like I wanted
Grandia 2.
2B. That's what I wanted.
2B. You never beat. You never beat Grandia 2 though.
I got stuck at the 3 faces. I couldn't leave. To level up. and every time I just died, it just reset me. Like I got stuck in a logic loop or something. I couldn't get out of there. I found like a glitch. Couldn't leave.
They just said a remake of the first 2 games. It's like a collection, and I don't know if the third one's in that collection. But usually when they do remakes, maybe they'll get your wish. Maybe it means they'll.
I hope so.
I doubt they'll continue with the characters though. With Ryudo, is that his name? And Melphis and
Melphis is dead.
He's the bad guy.
Elena, I think, and the evil lady she would turn into. I forget her name too.
Oh, he's right.
The Feel the Power of Nature guy.
Yep, he died though. He dies towards the end. It's very sad. Yeah, that was very sad. They're on like the moon planet, and he's like attacked by a bunch of aliens like all at once.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was very disappointed about that. I'm sure there's a game that I would love a sequel to that I just can't think of it.
Could you imagine like a Knights of the or the Old Republic? Could you imagine a High Republic kind of
that'd be nice.
sequel or expansion? I think
there's rumors that they're going to be making a remake of Old Republic, but the idea is that the rumor is that they're going to make a remake of the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 meshed into one game. So like taking that story and kind of twisted and turning it, because that's the one thing about that game that made I think it special was like kind of the story narrative and then the surprise ending that you find out that you were the Sith Lord or that you were the villain. You could choose not to be one, but like I don't think that would like hit right anymore because everyone would be like, oh, okay, I know how it ends.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotten a lot of people thinking about like we can remake this, but then we can change it a little bit, and then we can open up some new possibilities. So is that something you're thinking about?
Oh yeah,
that what they're thinking?
I would love. I mean, that's the rumor, but I mean, I would love a new Star Wars game. I personally love the Old Republic. I honestly, you bring that up, I turned it back on again.
Did you really?
I was playing it the other night, like, and I went.
Is anybody still on there?
Oh yeah, they merged all the servers. Actually, I've been watching a girl streaming, and her name is Darth Smalls. I'm gonna throw her out. So look at Darth Smalls. She's on Twitch, and she's been streaming Old Republic. And I was just in the chat. I was like, I'm gonna join, and so I hopped in because she's like just got back into it. So I was playing with her on the stream. So but I would love like I would love like a new Old Republic game. I guess I just know that will never happen. I don't want them to get rid of the Old Republic either, so I don't want them to make a new MMO. It's kind of a really weird thing. Oh man, this is a tough question though, because I feel like there's like so many games that like I feel like could come back or needs another sequel, and I just nothing's like hitting me. I miss Fable. I would love another Fable.
I heard some rumors about that.
Yeah,
some rumblings.
They're gonna make a new one. I remember 2 was great, 3 was okay. But I played all the first 3 Fable games. I loved them. They're all really good.
Okay. I never got into that series. I wanted to. 2 looked really good, and then 3 I thought was going to be really, really good. But I think it didn't pan out.
It wasn't like it was bad. It's just like that was, it was just like I guess it didn't wow you as much as 2 did. Like I don't really think there was anything missing. I just think, like, because there is an overarching story, and they try to do some other stuff. I don't really remember. I remember Amber got really into Fable games too. She loved the Fable games.
Okay.
So that was one thing I think would maybe like it more. But oh man, I might have answers as we go through this. I'm having a hard time.
As you think of it, I want to give actually. Speaking of giving like sequels to the number 2, I would like to see a sequel to Super Mario Brothers 2. I want it to be 2B. I want to see more of that. I want them to just do it once. Just one game where it's like Super Mario Brothers 2. And they just do a game in that style again, like with Mario. Let it be kind of like self-referential and funny, I feel like that would be just a really fun game.
So like Super Mario Brothers 2 B-Quest or something like that, or...
Yep, sure, the B quest, and let it be the same graphics and like pressing down to jump really high and picking things out of the ground. There's like you don't get to do that in any other Mario game. I know it's not. People would say it's not a great sequel, and I guess I'd have to agree. It's not really a Mario sequel. It's a different game.
I love Mario
But I
2,
want to see
though.
more. I want more of that game.
I thought Mario 2 was a great game. I loved Mario 2.
I thought it was fun.
I wasn't sure. I was going to shout it out or maybe even make it my honorable mention in the show because I love that game.
My cousins had that game, and I loved playing. I was like, it's just weird and funny, and cool to look at.
I remember when I finally beat that game, and I'll just talk about it here for now since we're in that thing. It's like I remember finally beating that game, and I for some reason just loved getting to the end of that game because it was a harder game. Because you had to think differently, right? It wasn't like your normal Mario game.
You're not just going to the right, like you're finding
you're exploring and finding all the secrets and making sure you're throwing the potion to make a magical door
on the thing, right? Yeah.
There was like a lot of kind of interesting mystery to that game. I mean, it felt like a Mario game. It just had different mechanics, and I kind of like that. I didn't think I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like back then, I'm just like, well, I mean, that seems to be how video games work. You just make a different looking version. I mean, that made sense to me.
Make it different. It's the next one. It's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, but Mario 3 obviously is way better of a game. I mean, I'm not that's the true, I guess, sequel. Even though there was lost levels, but I don't consider that a sequel at all.
Do you think if people had the internet back when they were making Super Mario Brothers 2? Would there be people so pissed off? Would be like hashtag not my Mario?
Well,
and all that stuff. Would they be so angry?
You know the history of Mario 2, right? That it's
not a Mario game.
Yeah, well, it's Mario USA. That's what they call it in Japan. So, because it's actually called Doki Doki Family or something. It's like a completely different sprites in game. So it technically isn't the actual Mario sequel. It wasn't supposed to be, but I think the US are just like, well, everyone loves Mario. Let's just throw this game at them. Why not? And
make a Mario game.
I mean, it's actually nice. I don't think anyone would have experienced that game if it wasn't a Mario game in the US. If it was just a random Doki Doki game.
Yeah. I just wonder if back when it came out, there were some people kids or adults just like, this is not a Mario game. Mario is not about this. In their trollish basements, cursing the Mario makers.
I'm sure there was somebody, but really, they probably were a bunch of jerks.
Yeah. Thank goodness the internet didn't exist back then.
Man, you got me really. I feel like oh man,
I've stumped you in the last 3 of my surprise topics.
I have answers, but I feel like there's one out there that I knew that I'm I would love a sequel, but I just knew it would never happen or something. It's that one that would just never. I can accept it never coming. I wish it could, but
okay.
I will think of it though.
Okay. Why don't we take a quick break? You ruminate a little bit, digest, and as this conversation progresses, see what you come up with.
Start talking about a lot of sequels. It'll make me think of it, I'm sure.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the honorable mentions. And we're back. Justin.
Yep.
I don't know. Has anything changed since we've gone on break? Have you maybe thought of an answer to the surprise topic?
I drank 2 beers
dream sequel
and thought of it. So I'm getting
smoked a pipe.
No, it finally came to me literally a minute ago, and the game that I've always wanted a sequel, and whether it be a sequel or a remake, it just needs another one, and that game is Eternal Darkness.
Oh, Dip for the GameCube.
Yes,
that was such an interesting game.
I think it'd be even more interesting nowadays, like having it somehow attached to your phone and kind of messing with your head, it maybe messes with you like when you're not playing, it's
sends you weird texts. That would be really good. That is actually a really great idea. Wait, maybe we shouldn't record this. Let's pursue this idea independently.
I know, but seriously, I loved that game so much because I went all the way through it. I loved it. I remember you were with me. Oddly enough, we've talked about this scenario where the 2 dudes that were talking about Lord of the Rings at our bonus episode. I was buying Eternal Darkness in that scenario. That's what I was doing because I found it used at FYE.
Yep. Oh, FYE. Yeah, that game was just very different. Like the gameplay itself, I don't remember too much about it.
The gameplay
but
was
I remember
cool.
It was cool because like there wasn't like really like a life bar, but you could tell like because I remember there were like certain parts. There was a part where you were like a soldier, like and you had like a sword and a shield. It might be like a centurion something,
Yep.
and like you didn't like there was no like life meter, but like you saw him getting hurt as you got hurt, and like
Yep.
you know at one point he might be like limping or his arm might be like kind of hanging off the side, you know, not as like strong as before. Like those little subtle touches in it. I mean, that's what was that who made that game? No, I know it was GameCube. Do you remember like who was the publisher for that?
Silicon something. Like I
Is it
can't,
like Silicon Graphics or something like that?
I don't know. I'd have to Google it.
Silicon Knights.
But yeah, like it was something like that.
No, it was.
Maybe
I really loved what it did.
I'll look it up. But the thing with it was like the gameplay wise. I mean, it was kind of like, you know, there were some weird kind of camera angles and stuff like that, like any GameCube adventure game. But like you had to dismember their arms, so you'd have to like select what body part you wanted to attack.
Yep.
And so that would like slow them down or like get them from stopping attacking you. But like just the insanity thing was what really won me over on that game, right? Because like you're kind of also being like, because there's different like types of monsters. They did different things. One dealt your health. One I think did something. There was a blue one and a green one. There was like it was like Mass Effect, right? So it's like, but like the green one I think affected your insanity more. I think I can't remember though. But like I just remember like some of the weird things that would happen to you. Eventually towards the end of the game, it's like, okay, well I've been through all these already, and it's like. It still annoyed you though because it's like you'd walk in a room and like you're just all, you know, you're getting like a momentum and a rhythm of like, yeah, I got this, you know, I'm hacking and slashing, and all of a sudden your head blew up, and I'm like, wait, what oh, damn it. And they would always try to get you or trick you, and you're creeped out all the time. You're just like, is it gonna mess with me? Is the game gonna fuck with me? Like, oh god, like the one thing. And I think our mutual friend showed us this game. I think maybe at his house.
I remember.
And like the one thing I remember, like him showing me, is like, okay, just play this game for a little bit. It's like all of a sudden you're playing it, and all of a sudden next thing you know, the audio just jumped all up, right? Or there was a fly like floating around the screen.
Yes, I remember the fly. The volume thing was the one that really like. I was like, what are you doing? Are you sitting on the remote? Like, stop. Like, it's getting louder. And then it would just go all the way back down to, like, nothing.
Yep. Yeah.
It was, like Psycho Mantis in what's it, Metal Gear Solid 2, where he starts, like, or in Metal Gear Solid, where he starts, like, talking to you. He's like, I see you like to play Castlevania games. Like, it looks like on your memory card.
Yeah.
Like, kind of.
I heard about that.
But like,
I never played it.
That game is so. But that like Eternal Darkness was like a whole game kind of designed around like how can we make the user also feel creeped out.
But
I think that's a great idea. I think it would. I think it would do well as like a mobile game maybe. Maybe something that like you have to like connect to your phone that it would.
Yeah, I can see it being like a good like big screen game though that sort of like affects like other things like second screen stuff. But like I don't know, you'd probably appreciate that game because it does like go to like all these different history kind of like you kind of because you play different players. Like you're remembering the initial guy who is like pretty much the bad guy throughout the rest of the game. Like he becomes the bad guy when you beat that level. And like you're just playing like the daughter of somebody that owns a mansion. You start learning about these creatures and who they are, and it's like this like there's like all this like mansion has like all these secrets and mysteries and history like in it. But like it's good. But we're not here to talk about the sequel that doesn't exist, right? We're here to talk about the sequels that once were.
Yes. So would you like to? I know you just spent some time here, but would you tell us what was your first honorable mention?
So my first honorable mention, you maybe didn't bring this on your list. I could feel like you maybe not think of it as a sequel because to me it was like the only one I really played. So I was trying to find ones, but like I had dabbled in the other ones, had seen the other ones, but this game we have a strong history with, and that game is Warcraft 3.
Oh, okay.
Like I just that's something about that game. Like just I've seen a lot of the other ones. Like the graphics are a little different. Like my friend had shown me what the game looked like, the real time strategy stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's
okay.
It's okay. I mean, I thought it interesting, and there's like sort of a story, but I never really grabbed me. But Warcraft 3 was a big wave. Like everyone I knew like jumped into it. I remember like getting excited for the game too. Like even though I hadn't really played the other ones, like I just remember like this game looks really awesome. It looks really cool, and I just think it was an amazing sequel for two games that were probably like had a following, obviously for a reason, but like it really kind of made Blizzard. It really made Blizzard what it is today. Like I mean that game,
it
I think.
is.
I mean,
it definitely did.
You had StarCraft obviously too back then, but like I don't know something about the Warcraft thing. I love the story of that game. Like I mean, it's something like the idea of Arthas becoming the bad guy and like becoming the Lich King and all that stuff. Like I liked the campaign of that game a lot.
Yeah, the story mode of that was really, really good. Like what they did with the orcs and eventually turning him into the Lich King. Like really, really cool ideas, cool stuff. And the game itself was very pretty. Even on like not so great PCs, it still looked pretty amazing.
Yeah, you played a Mac too. That's what I played it on.
Yep. I would shout out Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology as like real time strategy games on on PC or Mac that are great. But yeah, you've hit the nail right on the head in terms of like which one was like the high watermark at that time. It was like everybody. You're right. Like everybody played it. Even people that don't usually play computer games were playing Warcraft 3, which is kind of what made World of Warcraft so huge, right? Because they're kind of building off of the momentum of that. And it's like it'd be like that, but as an MMO. And it's really it got a lot of people, got the hooks in a lot of people.
I remember we would play that game up to like 4 a.m, like multiple nights. It's like over and over again. It's like
they found like the secret formula.
It's just something about that. Like it's just that like getting like I think it was just a mixture of just graphics at the time, right? It looked pretty, but at the same time, it was just like this like easy sort of like building aspect to it, where it's like you kind of you had like it wasn't like Command and Conquer, which just kind of felt a stiffer, I guess, not as fluid, or like, I don't know how to describe it. Like it's like it was like it had like this sense of like maybe because it was like pulled back more. StarCraft had kind of a different vibe to it. It had this like kind of more, without a better word to say, like mainstream looking feel to it. It just kind of like, and then just the soul of the game, like the character, like the dialogue, where you just keep clicking the guys over and over again. They would say like funny things and well, they would even like quote Yoda and like do like references to things and like
they came from behind.
It's like I just love it. It's just like they just like kind of like took everything I think from the original games, which had that kind of humor, but like, you know what, we're gonna like really kind of nail this out of the park and just add like every character is gonna have this own little personality to it. Like they gave character to like your minions, like the dwarves and the sorcerers, and like just like they all, even though you had heroes that had their own like storylines, but like even just like the characters and the workers and I don't know, it's just the game just felt it felt satisfying whenever you like kill a monster, like you just like it pop and like you like get the gold that would just show up. It's just, they had just the sound effects of it. I don't know. I look at a lot of the sequels out there. It's like that one really stood out to me, just because of how it pulled so many people in, and I don't know. It was and it was good. I wish that's another game I love a sequel of. I just think they'll never have it. They'll never do it. But I'd love another Warcraft 4, I guess, if you would. Of that style.
Warcraft 4. That would be fun. That would certainly be. I'd say keep it in the same like style and graphic level, and just make it huge. Make it like enormous maps. Pour the resources into making, like turning all of the good things about it up to 10. But I really one thing I just want to mention about that game too is like that. Like when you're building things and how they affect the environment, and when you're the Lich or the undead, how they kind of like they blight the land.
Yeah,
and that's only where you can build, so it's kind of limiting for you. but the more you build, the more you spread and kind of corrupt the land. I always love that.
Yeah, like a virus. Yeah, no, like the different races, they didn't seem generic, right? They felt very, very different.
Yep. And night elves, like if you built buildings together, you'd see like fireflies like dancing around. You'd see like these little environmental things. Like those little touches made that game, like Command and Conquer and even Age of Empires, like they're fun, but they are very like kind of stilted. It's like here is a thing, and here it's building another thing. They don't feel connected. It's just like a sprite building another sprite.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of humans in a sense, just with different maybe uniforms,
skins or like colors.
Yeah, things like that. But like I don't know, it was just I love Warcraft 3 and the expansions and all that stuff. I mean, I would love to play it again. They made a remake. They remastered it. Just came out. I guess they got a lot of flack for it though because they didn't do it right or didn't do it justice. Like I guess they made it so like
they made it a first-person shooter.
Well, no, I guess they just like I don't know, like I don't remember. I'm not going to speak on it. I just know the one thing that bugged people that when they released it, they made it so you couldn't buy the original anymore.
Oh,
people hated that.
Oh,
like I don't know, people just a lot of video game privilege out there. I guess I don't know.
Hashtag not my Mario. Right.
Exactly. But
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I would love to see a Warcraft 4, man. That would be great. Mm-hmm. See, you're all about the like. This was a good sequel, and I wanted more of it, and we never got more of it. Mm-hmm. But if I may, I do have. I think this might be one we might share, or you might have some things you'd like to say about it for sure. It's Assassin's Creed 2.
Yes,
Now we've talked before about how we think like Brotherhood is probably the better game in terms of like what you can do, but in terms of sequels, from having played the first Assassin's Creed and then playing Assassin's Creed 2, just about every aspect of that game is improved. Way more character driven story. You know, like you actually care about the main character. Like Altair, he's in a cool place and he's a cool guy. But he's about as interesting as a dead fish, you know, and like personality-wise, he's just like, I must get my revenge. I must kill Roberta Sal. Like that's his whole thing. Is like, it's really cool when you meet King Richard the Lionheart. All that's great, but it's very different when the first mini game you play in Assassin's Creed 2 is as the baby, and it's like press X to move your hands, like. And like the baby moves and it's like do this to jump and he kicks. Like you get to witness his birth, and really through the series you see him all the way to his death, which because like kind of cool.
Brotherhood though I guess it's a sequel, but there's something about that numbered sequel, right? Because it's like it's like oh, this is the next jump. Where Brotherhood,
it's a tentpole, right?
Yeah, like because you have all the GTA 3 games, right? Like Vice City and San Andreas. I mean, Vice City and San Andreas, are they sequels? Are they just continuations? Or like what?
I think they're sequels because they're, especially San Andreas. You could definitely make a case that it's a sequel because it's a completely. I mean, like the game is very. You can do way more in that game than you could do in Grand Theft Auto 3, or in Vice City even.
But to my point, when I looked at sequels, though, I'm just like, okay, you want that big jump. Where Brotherhood was like kind of like a fleshed out expansion of 2, right? It's like, well, let's take everything good about 2 and just make a really awesome version of Rome. You know, it's like, let's just do that. Where like 2, like just felt like a true sequel. Like it's like this is a jump up. It progresses the story. You learn new characters. Like it's still
completely new setting, completely new people. Yep.
Yeah, so like I agree. Like when I think of better like favorite sequel in that series, I think of like what the sequel's supposed to do. Like, and I was gonna make a joke. Like even the box art showed that it was gonna be a good sequel because it shows him jumping into water.
Oh, that's right. They're like you can swim because Altair apparently was like weighted down with lead balls or something, so they would dropped in water. You're like, you died. I'm like, really? This master assassin fell in some water? Yeah, when they let us swim, we were like, I remember that. I remember that on the back of it. It'd be like, he's in. It's like you can do it now. You can go in the water. We don't know why you'd want to, but okay, you can go in the water. You don't instantly die. Yeah, no, I think the enemies are a lot harder too. Like there's more variety of enemies. and different ways of fighting, more weapons, like different weapons, and like it kind of like started letting you like tailor your style. Were you the kind of person that would, just screw it, I'm just gonna run up and kill this guy and I'll deal with like all the guards coming after me? Or are you gonna play the stealth route and really like try to be meticulous about your assassinations? But yeah, man, Leonardo da Vinci's in it, and it's not even like a bad cameo. He's actually like a good part of it. He's not like it's not like overused or weird.
Like the first game, obviously I think needed to happen. It's not like it was definitely a very unique game. It's one of the reasons.
No, they're trying it out. Though, right? There's a lot of layers to work with.
There's one of the reasons I wanted to buy a 360 was seeing like trailers first. Like that looks awesome. Like the first game, you jump off and go in the haystack. It's like, wow, what is this game? This is like a whole new world. Yep. Like I'm so used to my Wii. Like it's like what is this thing? I loved playing it. Yes, it was repetitive, but there was no personality there. There wasn't like the side characters weren't that exciting. Most of the people that Altair hangs out with are all just hooded people with no faces, right? It's like
who are just pissed at him all the time, no matter what he does. Granted, he does a lot of stupid things in there, but I will say, like, I think that they did that on purpose because I think that they were pushing the story that's happening in the real world in the present day as the main story, whereas like you going back in time is just like getting clues to kind of like figure something out. So they didn't realize like they needed to make that part more story driven and actually pull back a little bit on the story in the present day.
Yeah.
But in 2 is when they do it really well because you have him. Right, was it at the end of 2 when he escapes?
Is that the end of 2? Yeah, he escapes, and then
and he's starting to use some of the Assassin's.
Oh, that got me so excited! Like the end of 2,
right?
Like that pumped you for the series. Like it just got you ready to go. Like
because it was like that bleeding effect of like him experiencing it in the Animus, so that he started to like actually have those skills of like wall running and jumping and doing all that. We were like, whoa! So maybe the last game will be like in the present world, with buildings and things like that.
I thought that too.
Me too. We thought it.
I thought Watch Dogs was going to be that. Like I thought, like that's what I thought that
you're
game.
Right.
I thought
you're right.
Like hey, like we're gonna make Watch Dogs, and they're gonna connect somehow. Like these are actually what the Assassins became. They're Watch Dogs now.
There's a similarity there that you were like, oh, like a similar kind of vibe. Yeah, no, I can see that.
But I mean, it's not that
I did. Interesting.
I liked where they took the storyline of that game in Brotherhood. I think it was still interesting. I liked being them at the mansion, but then and then Revelations was it was okay. It was fine. It was kind of like a filler episode that wasn't bad. Like it was like oh yeah,
it's just
that was fun.
Something that happened.
It was just something interesting, but like Assassin's Creed 2 definitely. I had that on my list. I figured you might bring it up though, because I just
so fun. Wearing the different capes when you're going to different cities. Do you remember that? That's like that was one they got rid of for the other games. But I always remember like, do I want to be instantly attacked, or do I want to be like
I forgot about that actually. It's been so long since
you could show that you were like a a member of whatever, and they wouldn't attack you. But yeah, things like that. Yeah, it's a good game. It improved on the first one a lot. And they would go on to improve that even better. And then add multiplayer. And then they would screw it all up with Assassin's Creed 3.
I want to know if there's someone out there that loves Assassin's Creed 3. Like, I can see people like liking it and being okay with it. Like, I was okay with Assassin's Creed 3. I don't think it was like by any means the worst game ever. Like it was just
no. And I liked like the idea of the wall and like kind of like the climbing and free running aspect in trees and in the wilderness. I thought that was kind of cool.
Hunting was great in that game.
Yes. But that wasn't enough. We needed more.
I think we overexcited ourselves. It's like, oh my god, it's gonna be in the Mohawk Valley. It's gonna be in our neck of the woods.
Oh, that's right.
And like we realized, like the colonies suck.
Yeah, it really is not fun. Nor is it. It's like it's gonna be in the Mohawk Valley. Let's take a look at it. It's all trees. It's like, well, that's beautiful.
Yeah, they just.
What were we expecting to see? The Gold Dome?
It wasn't like because you're going from the juxtaposition of going from the Renaissance, right, of Italy, to the beginning of a revolution where it sucks. It's like
Yeah, where people are still dying of exposure every day.
Yeah, that's why Black Flag is such a better game. That's such a better. But anyways, 2, good choice. I approve. Right. I do have a bunch of shout outs because I don't know how to do this show without bringing up shout outs.
Oh, you don't have. Well, Justin, let me tell you a little something about how we do the show. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to mention before you get into your other honorable mention?
I liked Mario 2, by the way. That's another shout out I'm going to say right here.
Thank you. We're in the Mario 2 crowd.
I want to shout out Shenmue 2. I just want to shout it out. Like, just because it has a special place in my heart.
It's like a saga with you. You've had this, like, you finally got to play it.
I got to finish it.
And then you stopped.
You got burned out. Life happened. You know, things happened.
Sure.
We'll get back. I'll get back.
It was very funny. That opening sequence of the woman running and the bird, like, chasing her. It's fucking great. Yeah.
But, like
Falcon!
But to be honest, though, like, the transition from Shenmue 1 to 2... Like, it is actually a great sequel. I kind of wish I got to play it back when it came out because I think I would have been like
even more wowed than the first one.
I would have adored it. Like, I still like it. It's just it's too old now, so it's hard to get through a little bit because it's you saw.
I saw you spend 20 minutes buying little toys from a vending machine because you knew you were going to get robbed.
But I am actually very intrigued to finish that game just to get to Shenmue 3. I'm curious what that is. Like, I'm just I haven't. I mean, honestly, if it's like Shenmue 2, it just looks prettier. I'm all in. But
I'm thinking about. I think there was a guy like begging for money nearby, and you're just sitting there buying toys one after the other. It's like, do you have any money to spare? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
just keep buying them.
I had to shout that out because it's special place.
Okay,
special place.
I'll give you a shout out. It's not my favorite game in any way, but it's a good sequel, and that's Ocarina of Time. Yes. Zelda's. That's like because and I know people. It's fashionable now to critique it, for its flaws and its failings. But I mean, it was pretty cool. When it came out, it was pretty awesome. We were very excited for it, and the fact that you could be Link in a 3D environment, which was, I don't know. I know people will say like, well, A Link to the Past is actually really a better game. Sure, I'll buy that.
There's some people say Ocarina is their favorite Zelda. I mean, that's fine. Personally, I like Majora's Mask more. That's just me.
I feel like that's a personality thing. I think there's this whole group of people that like A Link to the Past, and they don't like any other Zelda game.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't really think you're a Zelda fan. I think the rest of us are, because we like different kinds of Zeldas.
Yeah. I had a hard time bringing Zelda into this conversation because I feel like it is like that's what kind of the relation to like what's considered a sequel. It's like they're so drastically different. They don't really continue the story. Like Majora's Mask is technically the only sequel. Like legit sequel.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they're all like different links. Like that Majora's Mask is the same link as Ocarina of Time. I mean, I guess there's some ones in the DS, I think, that may be the same link.
What is it? I was going to say like the Link Between Worlds. Isn't that like the a sequel, or is it a spiritual sequel to Link to the Past?
I don't know. I honestly didn't play that one, so I'm not positive on that. But yeah, like I just wasn't sure how to bring that up. Like I honestly, to me, I had Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, because I just like Zelda.
I mean, it does say Zelda 2. It is a sequel.
It is the direct sequel. I guess I looked at a lot of direct sequels because it's like I have a hard time. Like it's like when you think of like the big jump, usually it's that second one. The third one's just like, okay, let's just take everything from the first two and make it almost perfect, right? It's like that's usually what happens. Usually. But yeah, so like, as far as like the 3D ones, I really liked Majora's Mask, but honestly, Wind Waker, obviously, if I had to pick any of them, was always I like Wind Waker a lot. It's always Majora's Mask or Wind Waker for me. Breath of the Wild is different. It's way too different to be considered like in the same conversation too. It's hard. That's hard.
Sure.
But as far as shoutouts go, I do also oddly enough, I just want to say this because we never talk about PC gaming that much, so I'm just kind of using this as a way to do it. Myth 3 Exile. I just want to say Myth 3 Exile. If you have questions, if you want to know more, let me know. But it's a way better sequel than the second game, which is Riven, the sequel to Myst.
I remember Riven.
Myth 3 had a great story, had an awesome concept to it, and it totally explained all the story from the first few games. I loved it. It was really good, and the puzzles were really nice. Okay. It wasn't really hard, and it was cool. I just want to shout that out. Myst is a big series back in the day for me, so I wanted to throw that in there. So
sounds good.
As far as honorable mention goes, I'm not sure how many we're doing today. Honestly, sometimes we do 2, sometimes we do 3.
I've got one more.
You got one more. Okay. I am torn. I'm gonna have to say Kingdom Hearts 2. I know that was my favorite PlayStation 2 game, so I've talked about that a lot in a different episode. But I guess as far as in relation to sequel, I guess that was kind of one of the first ones that was a really kind of deep narrative sequel because you were waiting for this thing. The hype was there. You had a cliffhanger of the first one, and then just the combat change, the mechanics change. It was a true success of I've leveled up. I'm way awesomer than the first game because I went through that first game, and then how they make that work it just was perfect. And adding all these other worlds that you didn't think that would work, when you go to the Pirates of the Caribbean world, and it's you're still a cartoon character in a very well animated, good CGI
Johnny
version.
Depp.
It wasn't Johnny Depp, but but just adding the different worlds and going back to worlds and it just there was just they understood the complaints of the first one and just perfected them so much in the second one. And the story just became really, really good, and you just sort of got sucked into that, and just so many things happened that you kind of wanted to happen, but then some surprises here and there, oh, I didn't think that would happen, but that's still awesome too. I don't really have any major complaints about it. I don't, like I said, I've talked about the show before or the game before, but it's a really great sequel because there was a lot of issues with the first one, though it was still fun. Oop.
I fell.
Video technicality. I'm just gonna keep talking for the listeners. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2, really good stuff. A lot of cool stuff happened.
Is that the one where Square characters showed up, or was that
No, Square is always in the game.
So I mean, like Final Fantasy characters showed up.
They were in the first one.
They were in the first one. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So what kind of new characters were added to this one that were?
Well, you meet Roxas, you meet the nobodies, you meet there's a new villain, because it's hard to describe if you don't know the game. So the first game you're fighting Heartless. So Heartless. Okay. I'm gonna try my hardest to explain Kingdom Hearts.
you don't have to.
Okay, so Heartless is the empty body of the Heartless are the enemies that just have no heart. So your heart has been pulled out of you, so it makes it heartless. But then because there's a Heartless, there's also makes a nobody. So nobodies are also existing too. Those are the new villains in the second game. Then that's where it gets really good. That's me really trying very poorly to explain it really fast.
Okay.
But
I accept it. There is another aspect to it.
There's a lot of body snatching and vessels in these games, and pretty much the guy that you fight in the first one is a Heartless, but then his nobody fights you in the second one, and they have different names, but they're kind of come from the same person. But yeah, in the first 20 minutes of the game, you don't even play as the main character. You play as Sora's nobody, who is Roxas.
Oh,
because Sora's got in a coma, and you have to play the spin-off game to understand that. And it gets really convoluted and really confusing, but it's so great.
All right. I'll take your word for it. This is one of those games. I feel like I should recommend it. My nephew is really into games like that, and I think it's a series he would definitely dig.
Okay.
I feel like it's something. Have they released? I'm sure they have the first 2 games together or the first 3 games.
Oh, there's a whole story.
Or the third one just came out.
Yeah, they made remixes, and then you can buy them all at once now. It's like the story so far disc or something like that. Because it includes like all the spin-off games too. So it's like you have like 9 games in like one disc.
All right, there you go.
So
all right.
I think one of them you
check
can't.
that out.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's fun. It's really fun. I like it.
All right. I have one more honorable mention, and you mentioned it actually. We talked a little bit just about it for a second there, and it's actually Grand Theft Auto 3, and I had Vice City in there too. San Andreas is fine. It was not my favorite of the games. It's good. I actually really like the kind of like territory system where you can go and like invade other gangs' territory and kind of expand your own.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it, and I liked the references to the early 90s and stuff like that. But Vice City, especially, 3 on its own was a huge jump from Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2. It was obviously in 3D.
Yeah.
The game was kind of janky. It was very difficult. A lot of people just cheated, just using codes to get through it. But Vice City was like, they took the elements of the third one and made them a lot better. The soundtrack was better. The cars were better. The fact that you could ride a helicopter, you could drive in a helicopter. I think you could do like a small plane too, like a seaplane. You couldn't swim though. So sorry, Assassin's Creed 2, can't swim. But it took like a classic like 80s movie kind of feel to it. Like you were this like mob boss or like a mob guy that was like, sent down to Vice City to, establish a mafia presence there. You got your partner, Lance Vance, and it's like kind of Miami Vice-ish, but you're pulling jobs. It like borrows from so much 80s and early 90s culture and movies. So there's bits of Scarface in there. There's bits of Goodfellas. Ray Liotta is the voice of the main character, Tommy Vercetti. It was just it blew my mind because I loved like Grand Theft Auto 3. And I thought I was like, wow, like this is the future of this series for sure. Like they're definitely going to be making it more like this. And like the whole thing of like getting in a car and listening to a radio station. And sometimes when you're playing Grand Theft Auto games, it's just fun to just be a normal person. Just like get in a car and drive around, see what happens. But I really, really, I couldn't get over Vice City's like combination. I just love like driving down a strip because it's very similar to like Miami and its like layout of the map. But just like driving down a neon strip, like playing that push it to the limit, and like so, you're basically smuggling cocaine, it was like you were playing the Scarface movie.
Out of all the GTA games, because I've tried. I've tried. We've talked about this before. Like Vice City is probably my favorite one out of all the ones I played.
Yep.
I didn't have 3. I remember like dabbling in it and just running people over and all that stuff and just trying to get the level up to
getting a prostitute. Yeah.
But I own San Andreas. When I bought my PS3 on eBay, it came with it. Yep. And I was just like, okay, I'll try this out. I got pretty deep into it. I mean, I got kind of far. I mean, I made like maybe like 10 hours of the game. There's just something about it just didn't click with me. It's just like I don't know what it was. It's just too. It was like, I mean, you have the same kind of like mentality of like Assassin's Creed. So you have like the map, like, oh, here, go here, go here, go here. I'm like, but none of this is exciting me. I don't want to go to these places.
Yeah, that was my big complaint about San Andreas. It did feel very repetitive. Like the missions felt kind of repetitive, and it didn't feel like much different in like what you were doing, and like compared to like Vice City. Whereas in 3, like it was a huge jump from Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, and then from 3 to Vice City, there was this huge jump because it was way more story driven. Your character actually speaks because in 3, your character never says a word. He's just the silent protagonist guy.
Yeah.
And that's fine for that game. But in Vice City, it was like, this is a character-driven story, and it puts story on the same level as gameplay. And I think that was like when people are like, wow, like this is something to pay attention to. I actually have 4. I had 4 for 360. I never finished it. Like I don't know. Like the story just didn't grab me as much as Vice City. But now 5 apparently has an amazing story and amazing gameplay, and they'll never need to make another Grand Theft Auto again.
Yeah, well, people don't even play the story anymore. They just play the online. Yeah. There's so many things you can do in the online now. Mm-hmm. It's like people just use that as just another life. Like they just
it's basically Second Life the game.
Yeah,
but then you can hurt others.
I'm sure they'll make I know they're bringing 5 to the next gen systems, but I don't know. There's something about the GTA games. I don't know. Maybe it was just the fact that you're just driving around real cars. I didn't like driving that game. Kind of was boring to me. I was just annoyed that I had to drive everywhere. I think also I just like being nice, so I didn't want to do anything mean.
I liked following the rules of the road. Sometimes I would stop at red lights. I'd let people cross the road. I'd beep the horn. Yeah. You do that for a little while. I remember somebody watching me play. It might have been a mutual friend of ours that I lived with, and he came in and was like, "You've been playing this game too long when you've stopped actually hurting people and running things over. When you're actually just driving normally." Like you would drive in the real world. It's shut up.
I respect the game so much, but I just could never get any out of them for some odd reason. I don't know why, but
I wish I could play Vice City again. I would play. I know those PS2 games are a little janky and they're kind of unwieldy, but we got used to them. They were pioneers in 3D gaming like that.
Yeah.
And
well, no, Mario 64 was the pioneer of 3D gaming.
No, you mean Super Mario World. That was the pinnacle of graphics.
Pinnacle graphics, not 3D gaming.
Another good sequel.
Yes, it's true. My other honorable mention I'm going to bring up, obviously there's so many I can bring up, and I don't know what your favorite is, so I'm trying hard not to say it. I don't know if I'm going to say it. I have a feeling I might say it. I'm actually going to bring up this game, though, because I feel like you're not going to say it. If not, you can shut me up. My other honorable mention is God of War 2018.
I had that on as a shout out. I didn't want to tread. I didn't know where you were going to say, but absolutely, man. Talk about a killer sequel.
Yeah, because I've only played 3 before this, and I didn't play 1 and 2. I think same with you. Yeah. And it's just the jump between those two, is just so phenomenal. The fact that I liked Kratos now, I think obviously the performance of Kratos is amazing. And I didn't give it enough credit in our favorite decade show because I talked about Celeste, which I know now you know more about.
Yes. That needs a sequel. Yes. That needs a sequel. Please, Matt makes games. Make that.
Make only that game. That's the only game you make, Matt. But God of War is a very special game, and I will never understand the people that don't understand. There's some people that like the originals more that I've run into, and I don't know if they just don't get it, or they just don't see it, or they just didn't like the combat of it. It is a little different than the originals. The originals ones are a little more actiony. They're more video gamey than this.
Yeah, they're more cartoony violence.
It's get the meter up.
Chaining combos and things like that.
You still have this in this new one, but it's just the delivery of it feels more, I guess, there's more weight to it.
More realistic. Yeah. Slightly more if you did swing flaming swords around, flaming blades, that's what it would look like. That's kind of what it would do. And what it would do to the environment, what it would do to your enemy.
Yeah.
A lot of care and thought went into how, he swings the axe or, set something on fire.
I think it really surprised me. People were raving about that game for a while after it came out. And I remember when I first saw the trailer, I was like, this just looks like another third-person game. There's so many of them out there. It's I don't really care about God of War that much. The third one was okay. I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't. Okay is not the right word. It's just I got through it. It's hey, this is fun. I liked it. It was fun. It was great. The ending was really cool. I just kept punching Zeus over and over again. That's really all I remember.
For 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's but I didn't. I guess maybe because I didn't play 1 or 2 that I just didn't get the payoff for the third one as much. Who knows? But this one, from 3 to this one, how they just transformed it, gave Kratos a really good story, gave him a son, and made that sort of father-son relationship, even having a wife that he I think really cared for, and having a new family, a whole new side thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's something about it that really hit me and got me the right way, and I was like sucked into that game. Like I was just like I'll try it out. Joe gave it to me. I was like we'll see where this goes, and I am, even with all the raving reviews, I was surprised at how much I liked it.
Yeah, I knew so much about that game before I played it, and I still bought it and played it and loved it because I knew I would. I knew I would. It's not so much about like, well, I knew what happens in the end, or I know this reveal. It, like, getting there is the fun, like the reveal itself doesn't make much sense until you play through as these characters and see these like just little moments between them and them.
It's the side the banter while you're walking around that really fleshes it out. Like you might have seen like the all the cutscenes and things like that prior to playing it, but like if you're playing it and you get all that banter, it's like
all the Mimir stories. I love that. I would just ride around in the boat and let him finish telling the story. I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt you, dude. Like,
I love when you do though. It's like, oh, well, we'll just do this later.
We'll table that till next time. Yeah.
But no, it's a great game. I think it deserves to be listed in our at least in our honorable mentions. I mean, I can see someone making that their favorite sequel. I mean, that's how good that is.
Yeah.
Granted, like we have a long history of video games in our life, so it's kind of hard to.
But it's definitely up there. It's a great game. It's a great game. I'm very excited to see what they do next. Santa Monica Studios, there, whatever they do, we will watch their progress with great interest.
Yes, exactly. But
all right, well then, why don't we take a quick break here? Take a deep breath and really contemplate this last moment of our chess game to see what's our absolute favorite video game.
Oh, you're not picking mine, so don't worry.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's a relief. I was. I really actually have no idea what yours is, so this will be good.
All right.
For a surprise.
All right. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now is the time, Justin. We are at the pinnacle of sequels.
Pinnacle?
Now is the pinnacle of sequels. So please tell me, what is your favorite video game sequel of all time?
But before we get to that surprise topic has been giving me like think this entire episode.
Oh, you've got more answers?
Just gonna say Jedi Fallen Order 2. I mean, obviously it's coming, but that's something that we need.
We would like that. Celeste 2 or whatever it would be. Even if it's a spiritual successor, make more of that, please. So good. So good.
But anyways, so my favorite sequel. This is hard to pick, but I the more I kept thinking, I'm like, I just couldn't find a way to, not think this, because it's like kind of always been up there in my mind. And the answer is Uncharted 2.
Really? Among Thieves?
Among Thieves. Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
I know you never got to Uncharted 2. One burnt you out a little bit, right?
I started playing 2, and halfway through like the second chapter or so, I was like, I had just finished 1, and I went right on to the second one.
Yeah. No, I can see that, but like, the thing that's with 2 that's like I really enjoy and makes it my favorite, because it's like it's the first like time that I went from like one game to another game, and it felt like a movie. It felt like a continuation of a story. Like we had some story games in the past, but they felt very video gamey, right? It felt very it wasn't the same. Like this, like though you go with the first game, it's okay. The first game is actually not bad. It's just a lot of shoot. It's a very more third person shooter game. It's like it's more, here's a bunch of people to kill and some story. The story's not bad.
A lot of people to kill.
The story isn't that bad. It's actually interesting. It's okay.
You're a mass murderer by the end of it, but
yeah. He's a mass murderer throughout all the games. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. But it's playing on the fact that he's like Indiana Jones and stuff like that. But like, and he's not he's obviously a thief. He's not like there to like say, he's not trying to save the world, right?
He's no saint.
Yeah, no, not at all. But There is something about that game that, like, kids, like, I remember, like, Amber would watch me play the first one and kind of like, this is interesting. She like watching the story things, but the second one just like turned it up like to 11. It was like they finally got the charisma down, because you kind of like had like that little bit of like, it was almost like watching the pilot episode of an okay show for the first game. It's like, okay,
like
I can see this being okay. There's some good concepts here. There's some stuff in here that really didn't need to be here, but like I get it. It's okay. It's okay. But then all of a sudden, like that second season is like phenomenal or something like that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So like the second game, like you know Nathan already. You know his character, but then you start seeing him be introducing all the other characters from his past. So it's like it creates this sort of like very huge cast of characters that you just end up like loving instantly, and or hating instantly. And I just think also like the storyline's a little bit nicer because you go to Shambhala at the end. There's like some better environments. The battles are nicer. And then Elena, who you meet in the first game, shows up again, which I didn't know that was going to happen. Like I thought it was just going to be like your typical Indiana Jones, where it's just like new female.
Yep. New female
they
lead
do that.
in the...
They have that. They have like Chloe come in. And you're like, oh, she's like the new girl. She's the new girl. But then Elena comes in, and then you realize she's just like the girl that he's meant to be with, because she shows up in every game. Therefore they get married and everything. So it's like she's the reason that he becomes like a good guy, if you would, or a settled guy, or
okay.
There's a story progression there that kind of like pushes him forward to like he's still a mass murderer, but.
Well, that's not the part that we remember. He's still a thief. That's the most serious thing, right?
He's killing bad things.
300 people on an island somewhere.
He's killing bad people. It's okay, right?
Oh, bad to him? Who made him judge, jury, and executioner?
I'm sure you played many of games.
You did, the player.
I'm sure you played many of games, GTA 3 lover.
You know, that was one of the features, if you remember, distinguishes GTA 3, was you could get a prostitute, have sex with her, and then kill her and take your money back. It's funny because your money would be there. It'd be like, yep, you paid her. And then you'd get it back, and it'd be like, see, I made my money back.
Who's worse
Terrible.
In this situation?
Unnamed protagonist from GTA 3. Okay, sure. He doesn't get married in the end, like your hero Nathan Drake here.
But it is kind of funny though, like you say that though, because like as the game progresses, they continuously add more stealth features. So like
so it gets away from that shooty kill.
Like it's weird. Like he just like gameplay wise, I never really thought of it. Like I remember like the fourth game, which is a phenomenal game. It's funny. Like I listened to another podcast where it's like you almost like don't like talking about the fourth game as like a better sequel because it was on PS4 and all the other ones are in PS3. So you almost like give that a pass because it's like, well, it's obviously gonna be better. It's on the PS4. It looks nicer. It's prettier.
Oh, so it gets the it's the youngest child.
Yeah,
so everybody loves it.
It has a handicap. You know, it's like oh, you got the easy way to make this game. It's like those ones they had a harder thing to work with.
I remember the commercials for Uncharted 4, the ads for it, and they were like how it was going to be on the PS4, and like the actual showing of the gameplay. It like blew me out of the water. Then I was like, "Whoa!" Like, this game has seriously come far. What they could do.
You own that game, and
I have it. Yeah, I never played it. That thing I thought was so cool. Yep.
But I know I love too. Like the story is really interesting. You have a lot of twists and turns in it. You got some relationships solely like gets really fleshed out. You start like really caring for the characters more in this game, I guess, than versus the first one. And that's what I think makes you kind of become like an Uncharted fan throughout. That's why you like 3 and that's why you like 4. 2 is just really kind of have that transition of narrative to gameplay so fluid. Like they knew how to figure it out. And granted, a lot of the things done in 2 are now happening now in gaming. But you gotta understand, this game came out way early in the PS3 time cycle or life cycle. So I remember that's why I played 1, because when 2 came out, people were like raving about it. It's like this is like the this is like the way gaming will be in the future. This is like the new wave of gaming, like how we have this amazing, really good story that could be a movie. Like it's like I think there was like a commercial PlayStation did how like it's like the girlfriend of the gamer like wants to just watch Uncharted all the time because she likes watching the movie. You know, it's like that's what it was. It's like it's that kind of a thing. Like, and I wouldn't say it's like Final Fantasy cutscene crazy. It just had this sort of good transition, unlike the first one, which was a lot of like get through all these guys. Like you still have that, but I think it was just like better paced in the second one.
Sure.
And I just the level design, the pacing of the story, each level sort of really fit with what they were trying to say, and I like it's so hard to like find. There's the difference too between 1 and 2 is so substantially better that but you kind of need the first one at the same time because of the story. Like I don't feel like it hits the same if you don't know where Nathan like started and how he meets Elena and where he came from.
Okay.
So it's like
no, fair enough. Like that's certainly like I mean, it was like the first one is definitely a fun game to play. Like don't get us wrong. Like it's not like it's all bad but yeah, you're not. The idea of not fighting a platoon of soldiers every 5 to 10 minutes or so, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Because everything else about that game was fun, and I'd love to. I might just put in the fourth one and just start on it.
Just do it
and just see what happens.
Maybe I'll make it go back to the other ones. Who knows? Because that's the thing. That's the thing with the series. I could see, unlike a lot of other games, like we don't want to go play 1 and 2 God of War. But there's like there's no reason to do that, right? But I could feel like if you really like Uncharted 4, it's like I'm kind of curious how 2 and 3 went. Like I'm curious about that. I could see that happening to people. I'm not saying it would happen to you necessarily, but I could see you kind of wanting to know other stories of Nathan Drake,
sure.
even by playing 4.
We all have access to the Uncharted collection because of the coronavirus, right? We have that one and Journey, so anybody can pop in the first and second one and give it a shot and see what they think.
Yep. No, it's a
good one.
Really, really great game. So, what
Excellent.
is yours, Paul?
Now, my favorite sequel is to a game that I played a lot of. That was very difficult, but I loved the idea of it. I loved that Rockstar was doing it, and it was the sequel to Red Dead Redemption, the very first one. I haven't played a minute of Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm sure people will say it's amazing, it's awesome, it's great. But Red Dead Redemption is by far, I think, my favorite sequel. Now, Batman was up here. I'll shout out Arkham City. We can shout out Arkham Knight. Yep. Those are great games. Yep. I don't really feel like I don't know. It's weird to call them sequels. They still feel like they're different games almost. I don't know. They are sequels. Yeah. Sure, they are. They are. Yes, they're sequential. They're telling the story. Fine. But Red Dead Redemption was the way it told the story too, because you're James Marsden from the beginning. You're just like kind of learning things as you go. It doesn't stop to tell you the story at any point, and you kind of just get it through conversation and him opening up to other people. I think her name is Annie. The lady that you meet right in the beginning, who owns the ranch with her father, and she's like you stay there and you help her. Okay. But I mean, she just calls him Mr. Marston all the time, and like they eventually like you can feel like there's almost like an attraction between them. Mm-hmm. But he's married and has a son, so he'll never. It's like they won't, but you can tell that they really like each other. Like that kind of like subtlety of like character development and interaction is really great, and the gameplay is really fun. Mm-hmm. Riding on a horse, really fun. The fast travel was like you'd use like a campsite, basically. It's like you're going to camp for the night, and then like you would travel like someplace. It was like you're going to travel overnight, and you're just going to end up in someplace else. You could use the stagecoach. You could drive anything that was drivable. Ride on a horse. You could find wild horses and lasso them, and keep them for yourself. There's a lot of aspects of that game. You can play the 5-finger fillet with the knife, get really good at that. You can play poker and stuff. All the side games, all that stuff is great, but the story, the main story itself, is what makes that game so much fun. So it's fun to play, and it's fun to actually witness.
I always wanted to jump into that game, and it's just one of those games I missed. Like I just
you gotta get back onto it somehow. Find the time, because it's like playing. I wouldn't say it's like as dramatic as playing like a spaghetti western, but there's elements of those, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or like A Fistful of Dollars, like those kinds of movies. Like some of it's just a movie, but like you do get into standoffs, and there are times where it is about like how fast you can draw and how well you can defend yourself against a group of people. And just being a bounty hunter is fun, like just on its own. Like going and hunting down a person, lassoing them, putting them on your horse, and dragging them back to town. There's something really fun about that too.
I did dabble into the second one because it was at my work. They had it there, and
what'd you think of it? I'm sure it looks beautiful. I know.
It's not something that would ever grab me. I don't know what it is. It's like I mean, I've listened to a lot of reviews of that game. And I think I actually would be extremely curious to hear your opinion of the second one, because it almost.
I'd like to try it.
For my opinion of what people said, though, it almost like they went too weird, too real, like too realistic.
It's like the uncanny valley. Like now we're past the point of like this isn't fun anymore. This is like living, and it's not really escapism.
It's like you have to, if you want to drag that body, you're going to have to make it later on your horse, or otherwise you can't drag the body because the horse can't do it. Like that's how far it goes. It's like you have to really consider what you want to do when you do something. And
see, that doesn't feel like Rockstar, though. Rockstar is always about, like, we'll suspend your disbelief in different ways. Like,
but I think
can a car fly? No, but, you can make it in this game.
But I think they try to do that with Red Dead Redemption. Based on just what I heard about that game, yes, it was still a game. I think they came on the PS3, different time, but they try to get as much realism as they could in that game with that time frame. I think just with the architecture of the PS4, they could go even farther, right? They can go even further. And I think they just wanted to say, hey, there's some people that just are amazed by that game. I'm not saying that there's people that don't like it. I just hear two different camps on, like, is this a fun game, or is this a masterpiece? Is this a artistic, interactive achievement? Like, which one do you fall in? It's like it's one or the other. Where I can see myself, I wasn't really gripped by the story from the get-go. I played maybe the first hour, okay, because it was like a lunch break. Nothing's really gripping me in the story right now. The controls are not really that fun to play, because I wasn't really getting it. Maybe I didn't get far enough in the game to really grasp it. But, like, I never played the first one either, so I have no kind of attachment to anything in this game at all either. And it was at my lunch break at work, so again, just being in work just doesn't make you want to, like, get really invested, right?
Sure.
So it's like there's a lot of things that were hurting me in that game just from the get-go, but like nothing has ever really made me want to play it. So it's like it's hard.
I don't know. I felt like Red Dead Redemption itself was such a good game that it didn't need a sequel. If you were to ask me, like, I feel like they should have just stopped right there and made that a different game, like a different story, different, like, I know it's different people and different, but not under Red Dead Redemption. Like, just leave that one alone.
Well, that's because Red Dead 2 is a prequel,
yes,
right?
It's a prequel. It's a prequel.
Right,
I know. It's Dutch's gang, and all that. And in the end of Red Dead Redemption, you confront Dutch. But, like, there is just something about that game, like the journey of that game, and in the end, like, it's very rewarding to play. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I felt like it rewarded me on every level in terms of gameplay, in terms of story, especially, and like how you keep playing even after you beat the game is even interesting. Like that.
Did you play the first one?
Yes, I had it for PlayStation 2, and it's hard. It's just hard. If you were to say, like, on the scale of, like, how real video games are, or like how close to reality, that's like the perfect, example. Red Dead Revolver, the first one, is very cartoony. It's like almost like a parody of spaghetti westerns and like Western movies. It's like very cliched, but it's still good. It's fun. It's hard though. And then Red Dead Redemption is like the perfect blend of gameplay and story and realism. And then it sounds like the second one, Red Dead Redemption 2, is like a lot of story, but maybe a little too real, a little too much reality infused in there. Because there has to be a limit to how much you can make. But I love like the in-game, like the game itself, like the environments are so beautiful. Like you watching like the sunset and the sunrise, like out in the middle of nowhere, like in the desert, like it's gorgeous.
See,
and
if
it makes the random encounter with like a crazy person or like a wolf, like very scary and very like fraught with like how do I handle this, and do I fight or do I run away?
Based on what you said you like about Red Dead Redemption, which I think you'll like too. Even though there is some realism there, I feel like there is that sense of like it has like a sense of like I don't know what you want to call it, environment,
Majesty.
I guess. But like the things I hear about that game, and maybe you've looked into it too, is like where you like might save someone from getting killed by a bunch of robbers, but then like you'll go into town like an hour later and that guy's there. It's like, hey, you saved me. Like he'll remember that he was saved by you. Like that's like the moments you get in Red Dead Redemption 2. Or things like that. Like that's how like crazy. Like there is a sense of technical achievement in that game that I think that you don't really see anywhere else. And that's the only thing that I appreciate about it. But I guess just like everything else about it, it's like I don't want to ride around a horse. I'd rather play Zelda and ride around a horse.
It is kind of like Zelda though, and I mean,
but slower.
Not as slow. You get to fast travel, which is good. Fast traveling, I think, is important in those big environmental games because sometimes I do just want to like. I loved like hitchhiking on a train. You know how like in GTA you just drive around sometimes, or you try to drive normally. I loved like riding a horse next to a train, jumping on the train, because I think there were a couple missions where there were kind of like train jobs. But like I loved that. I loved like trying to catch up to one and like just like grabbing on and then like going in a train. And just being able to like how interactive the environment was really cool. Just what you could do. And there's a hunting aspect to the game as well, very similar to Assassin's Creed 3 as we were talking. But it makes a little bit more sense in terms of like what you do like with that. Like there's meat and then there's fur, and you can sell the furs, and there's a lot of ways you can make money. You could just get lost in that game. You could just live as James Marston out in the wilderness and not progress the game forward at all. And you'd have a lot of fun because it's like GTA games, like it presents you with scenarios, randomly, like save somebody. Also, the Undead Nightmare expansion for it
I heard that was really good.
It is really good, and it is really scary. Like I stopped playing it, I was scared so much. Like one of the missions was there are these spitting zombies in that game that are terrifying. And one of the missions was you need to lasso and drag 3 of them behind you. And I was like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm out. I was like, no more. I'm good.
Well, maybe we'll do a bonus episode when you play Red Dead 2. I'm curious.
Yeah, you should play the first one and I'll play the second one. We'll meet in the middle. We'll talk about our experience playing it.
Maybe we'll do that for our 4th season. We'll see if that happens.
Thinking about timing.
But yeah, I was actually surprised. I honestly thought you were going to say Mass Effect 2. I don't know why.
I'm surprised neither one of us mentioned it.
I was afraid you were going to bring it up. I think that's why. I think it was like that game we play where we just don't talk about it because they're like, well, not going to say it.
I wouldn't put it in again though, like unless they're going to remaster it. So maybe I would, but I loved everything about that game except the last boss fight.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, it was fun. I loved how it was all like the underworld and like the outer fringes of space society.
Yep.
Because the first game is all about the Citadel and learning about all the races and everyone's represented on the Citadel. And the second one is about these are everybody else. This is everybody else. Jack, the elusive man, all that stuff. Like these are kind of like the shady characters of the galaxy, which I liked.
Yeah.
thought that was pretty interesting.
I just need to. I think for both
we got to
of
give
us,
it some credit.
It's a very big representation of who we are, right? Because we love that game. I just think our game made us not say it because we were afraid each other were going to say it. But
we checkmated each other.
Yeah, but no, I'm actually surprised with some of the answers that you brought up. I completely forgot you played Red Dead Redemption because we don't talk about it because I didn't play it.
Yeah, so, it was my favorite game for the 360. Maybe a very close second is Arkham City, but that was definitely I logged a lot of hours just playing that game.
Awesome. All right. Well, what are we doing next week, Paul?
So for our topic for next week, we're going to talk about our favorite Adult Swim show. So we did favorite sci-fi show. Now we're going to talk about a specific time block on Cartoon Network, the Adult Swim.
Time block. We'll do Toonami next.
That was one of our ideas, Justin. Don't go too. That was inside baseball. Yeah, we had favorite Toonami cartoon on there. But I'm looking forward to it because there's just such a wide variety of wacky stuff to discuss. So I'm very excited to talk about our favorite Adult Swim show.
Curious. I think we kind of like align for most of them. I just wonder how we will rank them. That's the one thing I wonder. Mm-hmm. I don't know where.
I know what you're going to put number one. Mm-hmm. The one you can't stand. We'll that's going to be a whole bonus episode.
We'll find out next week.
Where I force you. Well, all right, Justin. This has been Playing Favorites. Thanks for sharing your favorites as well as your honorable mentions.
First time you've ever said thank you.
I know. I'm feeling a little, gracious. Feeling a little generous right now, so I'll say thank you. But this has been Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
And I'm Justin.
Let's do it again next week.